Yo guys, what is good? Welcome back to the Uncle Sharma channel. We are here for a big Champions League preview. It's a little bit early, but we're excited for it. It is a big one, and it's Benfica, so you guys knew who was going to be my guest on the channel. Big friend of the channel, of course, RabonaTV, or as I call him, Adrian. Thank you for coming on, Adrian. How are you doing, my brother?
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm doing very well. I'm really looking forward to this matchup, man. It's funny because when you drew Porto last time, I was like, okay, I'll help you sort of find someone to preview it with. And then, sure enough, next round, here I am.
Very Portuguese feeling to this Champions League campaign of Inter. And I've also got my own Benfica shirt. Yeah, when I visited Lisbon a few years ago, we went to the Estádio da Luz, where we will be playing the first leg, and the club shop was selling these for 10 euros. I think you can see there hasn't got a Nike sign, so it's kind of like a real fake, I guess.
Right? Yeah. A certified fake. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Adidas. I can't remember actually. Maybe did you switch to Adidas recently, or were you always Nike before?
We've been Adidas for a while. Yeah, for a long time.
Yeah. So it must, sorry. So it's not got the Adidas, but it's got all the sponsors and stuff.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah. So I rep this when I play, five-a-side football.
Of course. Yeah. Maybe if all goes well from my side, you'll be wearing that for the semi-finals as well.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. let's not get too far ahead of ourselves, Adrian. I know we're in bad form, but let's not cut us out completely. But yeah, I'll probably, especially if it's Milan in the next round, then yeah, you probably see me repping that shirt. Well, speaking of that, actually, I don't know if you saw it. I think you did comment on my picture when I posted on Insta when you guys were playing Juventus a few months ago, and you did a great job, and then of course this man did an amazing job when he stepped up, took a penalty, and silenced the Allianz Arena. That's the best thing Joao Mario ever has done before Inter, by the way. And it was in the Benfica shirt.
Yeah, that's his. If you look up Joao Mario Inter, skills and goals, it will just be that.
Yeah. No, it's. I mean, yeah. Let's get into it. That's the main question, really. For I asked my friends, in the Discord chat, what question do you want to ask Adrian about Benfica? Everyone was like, ask him about Joao Mario. It's like. He has done a video recently, guys, so make sure you guys check it out on his channel. It's a nice, really good video. It gave me closure actually on Joao Mario. I commented on your video saying it gave me closure on him finally, because for me, he was the player that I don't really hate players at Inter, but I think Joao Mario and Dalbert are the two players that I got closest to really despising. And not because with Dalbert he's not good enough, but with Joao Mario there was always that it was clear that he had the ability and he just didn't either care or put in enough effort, or it just didn't work out. I don't know which one of the three it was. So he really annoyed me as Inter, and of course he was a big flop, 14 plus million euros. But I'm actually kind of glad he's doing well at Benfica, because I'm happy when players reach their potential, and I don't have any problems with Benfica. So yeah, tell us Inter fans, how did Joao Mario become the best player in the world?
I mean, I think the biggest part has just been how Roger Schmidt's been able to lift the entire team. Everyone is playing incredibly well. There aren't too many players that are struggling under Roger Schmidt at the moment. So that's the number one thing. The entire team's playing well. We have 2 losses this season. So based on that, you'd expect most players to be doing pretty well. And then the other thing is that he's actually utilizing him in his preferred position. If you look at the heat maps over the various seasons, Joao Mario's is sort of, I don't know, indecisive, his heat map, or all over the place. He's playing centrally, on the right, on the left, everywhere. Whereas if you look at it now, he's mostly just playing on the flanks. He might start from a wider position, but he still will come into the middle, and he likes to have that freedom. He likes the space of the flanks, and he's just been absolutely cooking. Now, of course, his goals are inflated a little bit because he has been Benfica's main penalty taker, and given how much time Benfica spends in and around their opponents' boxes this season, we have won a lot of penalties. I think 12 of his goals have been penalties, with 11 from open play.
Learning from Penaldo.
Yeah, exactly. So he's definitely been picking up a lot of goals from penalty spot, but he also has a lot of assists as well, you know? So he's just in general been a lot better starting from a wider position and moving centrally, as opposed to being played as a center midfielder or a central attacking midfielder, which a lot of coaches in the past were doing with him, even at Sporting, even at Benfica last season, definitely at Inter. So now he's actually starting either mostly on the right and cutting in, but sometimes on the left as well, depending on what personnel are out there.
Yeah, so like in the last game against Rio Ave, you guys won. He somehow didn't get a goal or an assist, which is a rarity for him this season. But yeah, his starting position on the tactic board is a CAM. But as you said, he's roaming all over the places, and he's given the freedom.
Yeah, and I will say that also 90% of the time, whether it's SofaScore, Google, whoever you want, FontMob, whoever you want to look at, they have that three mixed up. So for example, Neres actually played on the left in this game, Rafa through the middle, and Mario on the right. But since they do end up switching, you know, he will have moments where he is through the middle. But as far as starting position go, he's mostly on the right, Neres on the left recently, and then Rafa through the middle.
Right. Yeah, even his best period at Inter probably under Spalletti was when he was played, in one of those three behind Icardi. I remember his very short, good periods that he had at Inter. So, yeah, it makes sense that now he's found really his position in those, and for, as you explained in the video, like even for Portugal as well, he was kind of that's where he thrives in that position. Would you say then? Like, if I asked the Porto guys the same question, and their answer was obviously Taremi. Like, who is, if you had to pick a player, who's the best player for Benfica?
That's tough. That's really tough, because you also have Gonçalo Ramos, who can't stop scoring for Benfica. I mean, he's been great. I think that if it was to come down to it would be between Gonçalo Ramos, Joao Mario, and then maybe someone like Antonio Silva, who's been fantastic at center back for Benfica. It's a huge achievement for him to step in. I don't think that any Benfica supporter expected Antonio Silva to feature as much as he did, but given how Roger Schmidt runs this team, and if you perform, he will play you. When he was given that opportunity to play alongside Otamendi, because we had a ton of injuries at the beginning of the season at center back, Antonio Silva just grabbed onto it and hasn't looked back. I mean, you saw him against Juventus squaring up to Bonucci. You saw him squaring up to Donnarumma. Like, he just has no fear. He's now 19 years old, I should say, before someone corrects me in the chat. But he's just shown no fear. He's shown great maturity and great ability. Defensively, he's very astute. Tactically, he doesn't get caught out of position. He's good on the ball, good with his passing. But I think if there was one person that if I was to think of this season and a player comes to mind, I think it would be Joao Mario, just because he has been that huge surprise given his previous sort of reputation, and how there was absolutely no expectations for him following last season, where he was looking pretty, I guess, like his Inter self, just not very good, not offering much.
Who is the captain, by the way?
The captain, so that sort of gets passed around, but Otamendi typically, I believe. Right. Yeah, usually Otamendi. Is
he the club cap? Like who's the guy who is like supposed to be like? Because at Inter is supposed to be Handanovic. The club captain obviously gets passed around because he doesn't start.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that it's Otamendi as well. I could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure that Otamendi is the captain for this season. He typically is wearing the armband, but I'm pretty positive, because before Yeah, this is what was throwing me off. I forgot about this. We had this player called Andre Almeida, who's been with Benfica forever, and he became a meme. He became an absolute meme just because he was always there and he always got starts, but he was always really bad. And he was the club captain, but he has since left, and now it's Otamendi.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's always one guy that's the spiritual captain, I guess you could say.
Exactly. Even though they aren't playing, even though they're sort of become a laughing stock in a sense, they're still the captain somehow.
Yeah. And what about, like, I've watched you guys primarily in the Champions League this year. Pretty much most of your games I've watched is definitely the Juve ones. But how would you, to us Inter fans, how would you describe your style of play? Like, if you look, on paper, you guys play a 4-2-3-1, and actually, like, even if you look at the average positions, it seems like it is pretty much a 4-2-3-1 as well. So what is your style of play? Like, to me, you look like what the games I've seen, high pressing, high energy, lots of chance creations. You leave a little bit, at the back, exposed a little bit at the back, but very modern and progressive. Would that be accurate in the description of your team?
Yeah, definitely a team that likes to dictate the tempo and is capable of doing so, capable of pinning teams back with our high pressing. But also Roger Schmidt has shown that, against teams like PSG, against, sort of dominated Juve as well, but we at least showed that we can sit back and counter against both of those teams when we need to. We did that against Porto as well in the league, when we got a win away at the Dragão. So I think that Schmidt has developed a system, or at least isn't afraid to change systems, isn't afraid to sit back and play on the counter, because we have the players that can do so incredibly well. But we also have the ability to sort of dominate the play and be a possession-based team. But yeah, basically what you described, there's a lot of pressing. It's very much that German sort of Red Bull kind of DNA, if you want to say. High pressing, very, very quick to transition. Yeah, a lot of play down the flanks as well. Like Grimaldo really gets involved in the attack. Alexander Ba really gets involved in the attack down the right also. So our fullbacks are highly involved, and there's a lot of interplay between that front four, basically. Mm-hmm. By interplay, I don't mean Inter Milan. You know what I mean?
No pun intended.
Yeah, no pun intended.
Yeah, no, it's a very entertaining team to watch. But it's interesting. You said you're also quite adaptable and you can sit back and counter attack. So what do you think is going to be you guys' approach? I think at home, surely at the lose the first leg, you're gonna come out and attack us, aren't you? You're gonna come, play, press, and take the game to Inter. Is that what you're expecting?
Yeah, I would think so, and I was just looking at this prior because I knew this question was going to come along. I think that we actually have a better defensive record away because we don't play as open and expansive. Whereas at home, we don't concede a lot, but we do play a lot more open. And often when we do concede, it's usually when we're already, 2-3 goals up. We start making substitutions, then we'll lose a goal. That kind of thing happens. So I would expect against Inter, you'll see a bit of that where we're going to try and take the play to Inter and really put pressure on that back line and try and dictate the play. And then at the San Siro, I would expect that you'll see the opposite, where maybe we'll sit back a little bit, and if we have that lead, sort of allow you guys to come at us a little bit, and maybe that will leave you open and try and steal a goal on the counter or something like that.
Yeah, definitely. I think on the other hand, I think Inzaghi, if he's still in the job by then, if he's still coaching Inter next week, we're talking about, because we're recording this on the Tuesday before the game. I'm expecting that he will come out with a lineup that is a little bit more conservative, just how we played against Porto. Obviously, against Porto, we had the result to defend, so it made sense to defend. But I think it makes sense to go to the Daluz and try to. I think if you come out with a draw out of your stadium, I think that's a great result. I think that, and I wouldn't be scoffing at that one bit. The problem is just Inter's chance conversion at the moment, it's looking so bad. We're not struggling to create chances as much. I mean, against Porto, we struggled to create chances. But in general, like against Fiorentina last game, we had an XG of 3.14, if I'm not mistaken, or according to FOTMob 2.75. It depends where you look, but we can't even score tap-ins, Adrian, at the moment. I'm sure you've seen the Lukaku meme. He's just, he is a meme. He's a living and breathing meme of a player. So even if we create chances, are these guys even going to tuck him away? And we're recording this just a couple of hours away or an hour away from Inter playing against Juve in the Coppa Italia, which I'm actually not even sure if I'm going to tune in, to be honest. That's how bad it is at the moment.
That's brutal. I saw that Lukaku miss. That was very much his Belgium World Cup form carrying over. That game against, was it Croatia, when he racked up like 0.95 or higher than that XG, a higher XG than Croatia in the entire game, just in that second half against them. But yeah, that's been pretty brutal. I'm interested to see what happens in the home match, because there's only been 2 teams in this entire season that have managed to keep Benfica at just 1 goal at the Estadio de Luz, and that was it was Portimonense and PSG. So hopefully, for our sake, sorry to say, hopefully we see that once again, that yet another team can hold us, or can't hold us, to just a single goal. But who knows?
Is there anything that you like? Obviously, from you guys, I mean, I fear you guys have pace, trickery, energy, pressing, form, which we definitely don't have at the moment. Just this enthusiasm going into this game. Your coach is on signed a new deal recently. There's that, there's just a positive wave coming from you guys. So lots of things to be worried about as an Inter fan. But as a Benfica fan, and obviously I know that you follow Serie A as well, because that's what you cover on your channel, all the leagues. Is there anything that you are fearful about?
I think the fact that Otamendi suspended for the first match, that's definitely a big plus for Inter. It does us playing at home sort of offset that, maybe. But that Otamendi-Antonio Silva pairing has been such a lock throughout the season that we don't have too many matches where we've seen someone else slot in. I do have belief in the other defenders, but like I said, Roger Schmidt has basically run this team as a meritocracy, where if you're playing well, you're probably going to start the next game as well, unless something happens, tactically, or you're suspended or what have you. So we'll see if Morato gets in there.
Who would be the replacement for Otamendi?
It would probably be Morato, who's, he was sort of seen last season and at the beginning of this season as the Antonio Silva type, this young player from the academy that will sort of slot in and sit next to Otamendi. He's a very, very tough, good defender. Unfortunately, one of the matches where he was given a chance this season, he ended up getting a red card. So hopefully he...
Good. I like right here.
Yeah, exactly. So if it is to be him, I don't have too many worries, but that's a 21-year-old and a 19-year-old at center back. And so it's, otherwise it could be Lucas Verissimo, he was Benfica's best defender at the beginning of last season, but then he blew his ACL and was gone for, I think, like 11 or 12 months, basically. So he is back now. It was thought that he was going to leave in January, but he did end up staying, thankfully. And if he is in form, he's a great defender, fantastic, and I'd have no worries, but it's just sort of, we haven't seen him as much this season, so that could potentially be a worry for Benfica. But other than that, maybe Vlachodimos with crosses. I don't really like him, I think, is Onana still pretty flappy with crosses now and then as well?
No, I think I think he had that period of being, when he was, out for over a year with that ban. So I think he's got that rust out of his system now. He's pretty solid.
Yeah, overall, because that was the only sort of thing that I was unsure with Onana recently, because I don't watch every Inter match, but I was thinking, is he also sort of a battle of flappy keepers here between Vlachodimos and Onana? But all right, so that's cleared up. But yeah, Vlachodimos is one of those keepers where he's great shot stopping wise, okay with the ball at his feet, but I sort of hold my breath when there's crosses and he's coming out to do high collects or punch things away, basically. So the keeper, potentially a worry, but even then it's not something I think of. And that center back position could be in the first leg.
Yeah, I think the only thing that gives me like a bit of or some hope is when I was watching the Juve game, when you guys beat them 4-3, you did look like, obviously you were killing them in the first half, but then it seemed like you do maybe have a tendency to switch off. You are kind of a you have some of these younger players, maybe they're not so experienced in some of these bigger games, so that's something that I maybe could look at into potentially exploiting if you guys kind of get a bit lackadaisical at the back. Is that something that you see as potential threat?
Yeah,
weakness?
definitely. I think so. I think you're dead on there. I think that if we were to sort of switch off towards the ends of matches, and I mean, that even sort of happened this past weekend. You know, I do tend to not judge teams too much based on matches where you're just returning from an international break, because results get a little bit squirrely. But we did see that against Rio Ave. We were playing away, but it got a little bit dicey towards the end. It felt a little bit helter-skelter. As I was telling you, Rio Ave is one of those teams that Benfica tends to struggle against overall. But yeah, I think you're right there. We saw that against Juve, where it looked a little bit poor at the end. They nearly got back into it. Didn't that match end 4-3?
4-3, yeah.
Yeah, after we were like 4-1 or 4-0 up. Or something
Yeah.
like
I was like loving life, and I was like, whoa.
guys. Yeah. I think there's something to it there. That doesn't really happen as much at the Estadio de Luz, but I think if we were to be playing away and having to, defend a result or get a goal or something like that, that's when we'd really sort of see what this younger side is made of, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Inter without, I'm not sure if Skriniar will make it. He's struggling with this back issue, which Inter fans are saying he's just him throwing in the towel now because he's going to PSG in the summer. Hakan Çalhanoğlu, I think, will miss the first leg through his injury that he got with Turkey, which is a big miss for Inter. So we've got two potential big players missing. But what do you think? Let's give a prediction for the whole tie. So what do you think is going to happen, home and then away, and then who's going through for you, Adrian?
I think that the first leg will end with Benfica winning by 2 goals. And then I think the second leg is going to be very difficult. I know that you guys haven't been in great form at home recently, 2 losses in a row at home. But I think that it will be very, very difficult, because it will probably be, if Inzaghi is still there, as you said, as you already mentioned, he'll be fighting for his life. And this Inter side will sort of be fighting for their season, it feels like, in some respects, or at least fighting to have something to smile about this season. Because on our side of the bracket, as we know, it's all sort of up in the air. Like, any team, if they catch form at this moment, could make it to the final of this Champions League. So I think that, 2-goal sort of or 2-goal difference in the first leg, and then that second leg I think will be spooky, but Benfica to still make it through.
Yeah, fair enough. Confident, which I don't blame you. I would give it, with the Porto, I was giving it was a 55-45 to Inter. In this one, I probably give it 55-45 to you guys. Like, if I look man for man, like, I think, there's not too many players that I would personally take in Inter. Obviously on form, your whole team is right now. So I think that Inter, like, these Inter players have like just thrown the towel in for like the Serie A at the moment, and I think for some reason Inzaghi is able to get a tune out of them in these big Champions League nights, clearly. So I'm gonna say that we go to your stadium and draw 1-1 or something like that, and then we come home and sneak past, and Onana has a big night again to get us through to the next round.
And Lukaku buries that chance.
Yeah, Lukaku. Or maybe Lautaro finally stepping up. We need a big Champions League goal from Lautaro this year.
Yeah, that's it. That guy is such a frustrating player, man, because again, he's capable, it, but it just, you don't see it. I mean, you do see it often, but it just goes missing for too long sometimes.
Yeah, no, definitely. And let's see who will be coaching Inter by the Benfica game. Could be Christian Kivu, the youth team coach. Who knows? But thank you very much, Adrian, for coming on. It's always a great pleasure to have you onto the channel. Anything you want to say before you go?
No, just thank you for having me on, and I'm really looking forward to this. I know I was looking at the head-to-head between these two sides, and the last time they played in the Champions League was actually the 1965 final. So can absolutely draw nothing going that far back, but Benfica's never beat Inter. So hey, there's that, right?
Yeah, well, apparently in 2004 we beat you 4-3 at
That's
home,
right.
and then 0-0 away at you. So I'll take that. I'll take those two results.
Yes, and then a friendly draw. It looks like you guys won in a shootout or something.
We're your bogey team.
Yeah, that's it. Yet to beat you guys. We got to snap this streak.
But no, thank you very much for coming on, and thank you everyone that watched. Make sure you guys leave a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and leave your predictions down below. I'll do a proper longer preview next week before the game, but I hope you guys enjoyed this shorter one with Adrian. Lots of good insights, and yeah, can't wait for the Champions League night. Ciao ragazzi. Always Forza Inter.